Welcome back, viewer. This is Billy Budd, Sailor, by Herman Melville. I can't recommend this story enough. I picked it up after reading Moby Dick, which I will be doing a discussion on once I recover from my muscle tension dysphonia, because I refuse to review that or discuss it unless I can commit a full hour to it, or 30 minutes or 45 minutes. It's worthy of the depth in the themes are so profound. Anyway, this that will happen in the future. I've read it. I've marked it up so much it's unrecognizable. But after reading that, I thought to myself, what does Melville have? What else does he have? I was in a used bookstore. I picked this up, Billy Budd and Other Stories. I read Billy Budd. It's about 100 pages, and it's phenomenal. I found that Herman Melville is Dostoevsky's equal, perhaps even his superior in many ways, when it comes to discussing envy and hidden motives that people hide even from themselves, which is something I found to be so profound. In fact, Melville even mentions in this book, Billy Budd, he mentions that the Hebrew prophets had insight second to none, but that the difficulty that people have in recognizing that is that they don't understand the language they spoke. Um, so I'll give you a quick, look, on YouTube, on all these spaces where people talk about books, they never go into the books. They give you like these really vague discussions on what the book's about. They'll prevaricate around the issues of the book or whatever, and then they'll just give it a set of stars and tell you to, oh, well, 4 stars, and go and read it. It's like they haven't even read the book. That's why I want to discuss the book. So why am I saying that? I'm spoiling it. Okay, everything on my channel, I spoil it all. I don't care. I don't play spoiler culture with people. I kind of give a 10-second review at the beginning. Whatever. We're spoiling this. I don't know if this is Billy Budd or not, but I'm going to pretend it is. Billy Budd is this handsome young sailor. He's aboard a man of war with Starry Vare, or it might be Veer. I don't know how to pronounce his name. As Captain Vare. And Captain Vare has Billy on and recognizes right away inside of him that he's a specimen. And not just because of his vigor or his youth. He's very handsome. This Billy Budd is. He's very handsome. He's very athletic, extremely hardworking. And he's got the fear of God in him. He saw a man get punished once and decided that he does not want to face punishment like that. So, how does he get around it? He says, I'm just going to do everything I'm supposed to. And that's Billy Budd, man. You ever have a guy who's naive? Near you, like super naive, to the point where when you tell him, hey, that guy's acting that way towards you because he hates you, he goes, no, no, no. He doesn't hate me. He smiles at me. That's Billy Budd. That's Billy Budd in a nutshell. All right? So in this story, Billy Budd's on the man of war, and there's a theme in this book where there has just been this famous mutiny that was put down. And so there's this sort of backdrop of mutiny in the air. People are worried about it. All the officers are on high alert for it. But Billy Budd is the least likely person to mutiny. 3 characters of note in this, apart from Billy Budd. One is Claggart, the man at arms, petty officer who, he's the antagonist. And then you've got Captain Vare, who's a very insightful, wise, and perceptive man of knowledge and even integrity, although that's debatable. But I'll say he has an integrity about him, even if he made the wrong choice. But then you've got, and I don't remember his name, he's just this old sage sailor that Billy Budd goes to for advice. So what happens is Billy Budd is having some issues on the vessel. This guy Claggart, who's described as an intelligent man, he's fairly attractive himself. He's a good-looking dude for his age. He's young, he's capable. Think of him as the above average category. But Billy Budd is in the well above average category. Okay. And it's caused envy in Claggart. That's really what this comes down to. Envy. Claggart hates Billy Budd because of his handsomeness. And so he starts to go out of his way to make his life hell. Now Billy Budd's just a forwardman, or I can't remember. I don't want to break momentum and look. Anyway, he's just a grunt on the deck, okay? No one of power. Everyone likes Billy Budd. He's a hard worker. He doesn't talk bad about people. He's very honest. He's very simple-minded, but he's talking to this old man one day. I can't remember what they call him. The old, the Dankser, the Danskers. The old Dansker. Billy goes to him, and the old Dansker, after hearing what went on, where Billy accidentally spilled some soup, and the Claggart, the man-at-arms, kind of mocked him for his handsomeness. Oh, Billy, you handsome lad. And, he just kind of gets on him. But Billy doesn't see through the threat. He doesn't understand that he's not actually being friendly towards you. He's revealed his hand to a perceptive man. And the old Dansker, the old man, Billy goes to him. He finds him smoking his pipe up top, always by himself, always gazing off into the ocean, always seeing things that others don't. You know the type. We've all worked with a man like that. Keeps to himself, doesn't get involved. You come to him for advice, you find that it's like trying to pry open the hands of a dead man. And it's not able to be done. You'll find that these people see much, but they speak very little. That's who that old man is. So Billy goes to him a couple times, and keep in mind that Claggart, the man-at-arms, he's also called Jemmy Legs. So I'm going to read a little section from this. Say what? Demanded Billy. Why, Jemmy Legs is down on you. And what? Rejoined Billy in amazement. Has Jemmy Legs to do with that cracked afterguardsman? Oh, it was an afterguardsman then. A cat's paw, a cat's paw. And with that exclamation, whether it had reference to the light puff of smoke in the air, just coming over the calm sea, or a subtler relation to the afterguardsman, there is no telling. The old Merlin gave a twisting wrench with his black teeth at his plug of tobacco, vouchsafing no reply to Billy's impetuous question, though now repeated, for it was his wont to relapse into grim silence when interrogated in skeptical sort as to any of his sententious oracles, not always very clear ones, rather partaking of that obscurity which invests most Delphic deliverances from any quarter. Long experience had very likely brought this old man to that bitter prudence which never interferes in aught and never gives advice. So the old man sees that Billy's headed for disaster. He sees from the start where this is going. Claggart, or Jemmy Legs as he's called, the man-at-arms, is down on you. He's got it out for you, and you're his target. He's targeting you. The naivety of Billy blinds him from this truth. He doesn't understand it. It doesn't make sense to someone like him. Why would he be down on me? So, and he's the kind of guy to start rationalizing, but he doesn't understand the human heart. You understand what I'm saying? He doesn't get the human heart because he himself is innocent. He can't understand that others are not. That's his failure. So I'm going to read a section about Claggart's internal mindset. And this passage, I'm shortening it, but it's just an exemplar of how powerful the prose of Melville is. He really is that author that, when you have your friend overhype something and then you're just disappointed. I don't think you could do that to Melville unless you tried to elevate him like above scripture or something. But you get what I'm saying. Melville has earned his place in the canon of great authors. Let's say that. So this is describing here it is. But for all that, there were certain other demonstrations now. When Claggart's unobserved glance happened to light on belted Billy, rolling along the upper gun deck in the leisure of the second dog watch, exchanging passing broadsides of fun with other young promenaders in the crowd, what glance would follow the cheerful sea Hyperion with a settled, meditative, and melancholy expression, his eyes strangely suffused with incipient, feverish tears. Then would Claggart look like the man of sorrows. Yes, and sometimes the melancholy expression would have in it a touch of soft yearning, as if Claggart would have even loved Billy, but for fate and ban. But this was an evanescence, and quickly repented of, as it were, by an immitigable look, pinching and shriveling the visage into the momentary semblance of a wrinkled walnut. But sometimes catching sight in advance of the four topmen coming in his direction, he would upon their nearing step aside a little to let him pass, dwelling upon Billy for the moment with a glittering dental satire of a guise. But upon any abrupt, unforeseen encounter, a red light would flash forth from his eye, like a spark of an anvil in a dusky smithy. That quick, fierce light was a strange one, darted from orbs which in repose were of a color nearest approaching a deeper violet, the softest of shades. So, Claggart is conflicted. He knows in himself that this envy is there, and he can't seem to dislodge it. In fact, this is another aspect just a little bit ahead. As to Claggart, the monomania in the man, if that indeed it were, as involuntarily disclosed by Starts in the manifestations detailed, yet in general covered over by his self-contained and rational demeanor, this, like a subterranean fire, was eating its way deeper and deeper into him. Something decisive must come over it, must come of it. So you could see that Claggart actually at one point repents of softening himself towards Billy. He reminds me of Claudius in Hamlet, where there's a section where the king is on his knees praying, and he wants to repent for killing his brother and for what he's done. But he just has this moment where it's like, oh, you iron heart, you iron strings upon my heart. I can't do it. It's very similar to that. And in the end, here's what happens. Billy gets reported on for being a mutineer, and Claggart goes before the captain. Captain Vere investigates. Now, Captain Vere is a very fascinating character to me. He doesn't believe Claggart. He knows Billy's righteous. And unfortunately for Billy, he has a stutter. That's his one flaw. When he gets frustrated, he starts to stutter. So when Claggart came before him, they're in the deck of the captain's cabin. Claggart comes before Captain Vere and tries to make his case. Captain Vere is too crafty for this. He sees through it. He's a very prudent man. And he calls Billy forward and tells him, tell that man what you just told me, Master at Arms. The Master at Arms says to him, yeah, he's done this thing. Billy can't even fathom it. His mouth seizes and locks up because he's not used to this level of iniquity, right? He doesn't understand the depths of depravity and the depredations that they just plunge down into a man's heart. So being confronted with that, his mouth seizes. He's not able to speak. But what he does, you want to know what he does? He punches Claggart with one quick blow, hits him in the head, and Claggart falls over dead. And this is what Captain Vere says. Faded boy, breathed Captain Vere, in tones so low as to be almost a whisper. What have you done? But here, help me. The twain raised the felled one from the loins up into a sitting position. The spare form flexibly acquiesced, but inertly. It was like handling a dead snake. Then Captain Vere says, talking about Claggart to the surgeon who he calls for, struck dead by an angel of God, yet the angel must hang. So Billy Budd hangs after a trial, and The trial takes place on the deck. He gets his officers together, Captain Vere. All of them are astonished. They know this is wrong. And there's a conflict here. It's um, Captain Vere mentions, these buttons we wear give us loyalty to the crown. The crown says that we must hang Billy for killing this officer. He goes, I know there's another higher justice out there, that of the laws of nature. He says, Billy is like a son of God. He's like a child of God, an innocent lamb. How could we kill him? So the conflict is, state versus God, basically, or state versus justice. Where does my loyalty lie? And in the end, the captain, even though he's like a father figure and he's in the trial, speaking up on Billy's behalf, comforting him. And it's not fake. You have to understand. Um, Captain Vere is not like Claggart. He's genuinely, he loves Billy. Everyone does. And he saw through Claggart's scheme. But he recognizes that something must be done. And so what he does is he hangs Billy after a trial. They decide on it. They are motivated by that mutiny I mentioned earlier, where if we let this go, what else might happen? So you can get into their motives a bit. But the way that Melville describes all of this, the speech that the captain gives is solid. I won't read it now because I'm getting a little long here. Yeah, I'm like 17 minutes in. No one watches videos past like 30 seconds anyway, so. And my throat is, I'm struggling to talk at this point, so I think I'll kill it here. But Billy Budd hangs, and when he does hang, a miracle occurs. As his body gets lifted up, there's this light, there's dispute over what happens. And Billy does not twitch rapidly and, all disturbingly like a corpse would when it hangs. He goes up just peacefully. And his last words are, God bless Captain Vere. And all the crew is there, and they all shout it together. So Billy has no ill will against Captain Vere. They have a private conversation before the end, and you're not told what that is. You're just told that when the conversation ends, Captain Vere leaves, but he died in that room because, again, there's a higher justice than the state. Anyway, I'll stop there. I really recommend this book. I'm not going to re-record this. I mean, yeah, I stuttered over my words once or twice, whatever. My style is like 2007 YouTube. I just put on my camera, I just talk. I don't have fancy equipment. I'm not using my good equipment anymore, and I don't know why I'm talking. No one's going to watch this far. Take care.